Hello, I am Elizabeth. I blog a little bit about our family's journey with Montessori homeschooling over at papermontessori.com. So as of right now, there's not a lot of stuff on there, but one of the things that I did do is I took the time to basically put some of the Montessori scope and sequence for the 3 to 6-year-old group into some flowcharts because I have a background in business documentation. That's just the way my brain works. And so today I wanted to share with you the sensorial flowchart that I put together. So this is the sensorial flowchart, and I'll show a little bit about the flowcharts and how they work. So on the left-hand side here is basically our key or our legend. I have it color-coded in approximately, if you want to look at like a full year, in 6-month periods. And it goes red, orange, yellow, green, teal, blue, and purple. And so basically this is right when a kid starts, either at like 2.5 or 3. And then after that, it is about 6 months on. And here, this will show you what the different symbols mean that you will see on the flowchart. Starts in a circle. The different lesson presentations or materials are listed in these rounded boxes here. If you have a decision to make moving forward, it's the diamond. If we are moving from another flowchart, it is going to have this envelope because I'm sending you here from somewhere else. And then if you're moving to another flowchart, it has this darker envelope again because I'm sending you from this flowchart onto the next one. So we'll start at the beginning. The way this is laid out is that we have our sensorial area and then the different areas within sensorial. So you have visual, which is basically helping children to develop a visual sense of size and understanding that. Tactile, so that's all has to do with touch. There's baric, which is weight related. The only item in that one are the baric tablets. There's thermic, which is temperature, developing a sense of temperature. Auditory, which is hearing. Olfactory, which is smelling. Gustatory, which is taste. And stereognostic, which is the sense of being able to feel something with your eyes closed, essentially. So like if you imagine you are looking through a bag and you're sticking your hand in trying to grab like a pair of socks or something, you're not necessarily looking in the bag. You can stick your hand in and feel around and get a sense of what it is. So that's what the stereognostic sense is, as mentioned here. So we start out and we can follow our arrows in 2 different directions. So one of the first materials that children are introduced in the 3 to 6 in the sensorial area are the knobbed cylinders or the cylinder blocks. And then they are also able to concurrently work on the pink tower and the color tablets. But there are 3 different color tablet presentations. There are 3 different boxes going from more simple to more difficult. For the knob cylinders, there are 4. There's only 1 pink tower. And then once the child has completed any of these lessons, they are then able to continue on that track. So for example, once they have finished the knobbed cylinders, they can go on to the knobless cylinders, and we would like for them to have both the knob cylinders and pink tower done before they do that. When they finish with the knob cylinders, they can then go to the leaf cabinet, and or the geometry cabinet, and then once they finish the geometry cabinet, another natural place is to then move to the leaf cabinet. And then moving on from there, they are able to move to the inscribed and concentric figures. They're also called geometric figures or graded or superimposed figures. And what these are basically plastic shapes, or they can be wooden shapes in different colors that the kids put on top of each other. And then from here, they're also able to start on the constructive triangle lessons. Let's see, we mentioned the knobless cylinders. So moving on, after the pink tower, the child will be ready for the brown stairs, or also called the broad stair, and the binomial cube. And one thing to pay attention to, as well as these colors change, that indicates that these are basically lessons that you would be preparing to give that basically second semester they are in the classroom. And if a child is starting older than 2.5 or 3, then you can start where they need. So if they've never had these lessons, sometimes it's fun to introduce it and then watch them work through them very, very quickly. If you are in a homeschool environment where you're like, well, what do I need for my kid? My best advice for there would be to look through these lessons, and you can kind of get a sense of the order here, to pair that with your albums that you have. And I would highly recommend you get an album, especially in a homeschool environment, to guide you. And so then you're able to see, you know, during the first, at that point, you are able to look and see, get an idea of where are they at developmentally and what are they ready for. So understanding the purpose of each of these lessons, figuring out kind of where they are, what they have essentially mastered, and where they are ready to go. That being said, even some of these lessons that are easier, they're still interesting to some of the older 3 to 6 children. And so it's not like a waste of time to spend time on these as well. All right, so we were here talking about, so after the broad stare, then if the child has been introduced to both the knob cylinders and the broad stare, then they are ready to proceed all the way down here, following this to the geometric solids, and from the geometric solids to the mystery bag or stereognostic bag. A lot of times in the stereognostic bag, they actually have smaller versions of the geometric solids, so that helps. And then let's see also from here. So after they've done the round stare, they're ready for the red rods. After the red rods, you move to mathematics and the number rods, and they're ready to go for that. So basically, your sensorial is going to precede your mathematics track as well. And then moving back on the binomial cube, after the binomial cube, they are ready for the trinomial cube. And after the trinomial cube, they're ready for the sensorial decanomial, or the square of Pythagoras. That is a 3 to 6 version of a lesson that is covered more heavily in elementary. So a lot of albums actually do not have a whole lot of information on this particular lesson. And then we'll also go, so we basically covered the whole visual area. So now moving on, when we start with our 2.5 to 3-year-old child, one of the first tactile lessons they can have is sensitizing their fingertips. And it's basically about washing their hands so that if they had like dust on them or something like that, their hands are ready to go. Once they are done with that, and the idea that they need to have had sufficient practical life and early sensorial experiences, then they're ready to move on to the touch boards. And the touch boards are basically different grades of sandpaper, going from fine to really rough. Then after that, they're able to move on to the touch tablets, which is a matching activity. And I will go ahead and say, once they've done the touch boards and the touch tablets, they're able to move on to the sandpaper letters, and that is in language. They also, before they start the sandpaper letters, they need to have a good foundation in phonemic awareness, so understanding the sounds that make up words. So anyway, but that's, again, on language, and today we are just covering sensorial. So after touch tablets, there's their fabric matching that they are able to do. After fabrics, they're able to move on to the baric tablets, as well as the thermic bottles and or thermic tablets. Some people have both, some people only have one. And then once the child is done with the touch tablets as well, they're ready to move all the way down. Oops, lost it. So let's see, so where are we at here for the touch tablets? So once they're done with the touch tablets, we're gonna follow this line down. And then here, they are able to move to the sandpaper globe. And you also want to start out with an introduction to geography. Before that, this is something that you will see some album manufacturers have it in a separate cultural album. Others have it as part of the language album. So then they're able to move the sandpaper globe. They're then able to move to the globe of the continents, which is painted to coordinate with the puzzles. Then they're able to move to the puzzle maps, and then past that to flags. So we'll hop back up here where we left off. So those are the touch tablets. So I suppose going back to the start, as we go down here, they also, another starting point for them is they can, I mean, basically anytime in that second semester, they are able to work on the smelling jars and smelling bottles. There's not really a prerequisite lesson for that. Likewise, tasting bottles and tasting jars are for first semester, as well as sorting grains and other sorting. And I believe that actually wraps up our sensorial flowchart, the sensorial area. I hope this was helpful, and good luck in all of your homeschool journeys.